Welcome to the internet, and on today's agenda we have why these platforms like Zapier and Make are so god dang expensive and kind of shitty. And then we're gonna go over that a perfect option actually does exist and it's actually way freaking cheaper. And then finally, how you can extend this system so that you never run into a roadblock in the rest of your entire life. Well, a technical one that you can't solve. So in terms of like the current options we have right now, there's basically three big ones. So the first is Zapier. This is like the most well-known, and they spend a ton of money on marketing, all right? So everyone knows what Zapier is, well, everyone with a business, but there's also Make, which is just a little bit more technical and a little bit more capable, but they don't spend as much on marketing. A lot of people are going over to Make just because the pricing's a little bit better. And then finally we have N8N, which is a little bit bad with the pricing as well, but they are kind of an even more technical version. And I do really like N8N. We'll talk about them in a second. But then there are a ton of other startups and other kind of businesses that also do very similar things. So you can just search Zapier alternatives. You'll find a ton of different options. In my opinion, none of them are very fully formed or as capable as any of the ones that we're gonna go over later. But then the question becomes, like, what is the problem with these workflow tools? Like, why not use these? And I'll tell you why. Because first of all, we have fixed pricing with all of them, and everyone's gotten used to fixed pricing. Fixed pricing is normal, but it's not going to be, all right? And Zapier, I just want to show you something crazy. So first of all, Zapier just blows everyone out of the water when it comes to pricing. They do the most marketing, so that's fair enough. But if we go pay monthly, who the heck is gonna sign on for a year? Let's go the minimum plan, so you could use the free plan, but if we go 750 tasks, that's $30 a month. And if we start to scale that up, it just doubles. I mean, it's not even discounted. 2,000, a little bit of a discount, but like we're literally like, we're at $150 a month, and that's 5,000 tasks. You could use that up like that, you know? It depends what you're doing, but the real problem here is I don't know what I'm gonna be doing. I don't know how many tasks I need. I just wanna put something together and test it out and see if I like it. And I don't know how much I'm gonna need, all right? And I'm not gonna pay them $30 just to test out their platform, all right? It's not like a note-taking app. I'll pay $5 to try it out, but with this, I'm not paying $30, all right? And with Make, it's not as bad. It starts at $10 a month, which is not that bad, but again, how many tasks are you gonna need, right? And then N8N, of course, same deal here with 2.5 thousand for $20 a month. So better than Zapier, but still not that great. And then the other thing about this is their UX is really just bad. All right, so I just signed into my Zapier account, and let's just click around a little bit. I mean, we already see there's like, it's a website, it's not like a web app, at least it doesn't feel like it. It doesn't feel very smooth. And I'm just gonna like click around some of my workflows. I mean, it's just clunky, you know? It's just like clunky, it's not fun to use. And there's a problem because if you go like, if you wanna do a loop or something, I mean, first of all, to use a webhook, which is extremely basic. I mean, most people are gonna need to use a webhook. That's a pro feature, all right? Oh, okay, coding is not or looping is not a pro feature. A loop can only be at the end of your function, so you can't do a loop midway through, which causes problems. I mean, there's all types of different issues that you're gonna face here, and you kind of just have to say, shit, I'm out of luck. And you're gonna be paying a bunch of money, all right? So it's time to raise the question, I mean, what are you actually paying for? And in this case, it's mostly the software, okay? We just talked about it. With Zapier, the software isn't even good, but I'm gonna blow your freaking mind with this pricing, all right? So Zapier, Make, N8N probably, they all run on AWS. And if we look at AWS pricing, so a Lambda this is one of their services, one of their 10 billion services, because they have no focus, they just have a million different services. But A Lambda is basically a computer that you can spin up instantly. So you can deploy like a function just like you could with Zapier or Make, and then someone could call it. You can call it like basically any way, and then it's gonna run that function for you. And you don't have to worry about like setting up the infrastructure just like Zapier and Make, all right? But you do have to code, okay? So let's just see what this pricing looks like. So we see the price per 1 millisecond is that number. Like what, $8? No, it's very little. And then let's just say it's gonna be 512 megabytes of storage to run whatever our workflow is. So we'll do that price, and then we'll times it by 1,000 to get 1 second. So this is a 1 second operation, all right? So that's that number. And most workflows are not gonna be 1 second unless you're like calling an AI API or something like that, or a slower API. But if you're just using like basic tasks and like regular webhook calls, it's gonna be like a few milliseconds. But let's just give it the benefit of the doubt. 1 second per execution. And then let's say we wanted to do 750 tasks per month. Look at that number right there. That is not even 1 cent, less than a cent, almost half of a cent to execute all of that. But if we go over to Zapier's pricing like we were just looking at, I mean, 750 tasks is $30. I mean, this is insane. This is an insane markup. And the math on that is they're charging 5,000 times more than the compute is likely costing them. And in fact, they're probably getting a better deal because it's like a different compute instance than a Lambda. So it's probably even more than 5,000 times what it's costing them, all right? And all you get is the UI, okay? And so the natural option to go with, if you see that and if you become disillusioned, is you could go to custom code. And that's in fact what I did. I wanted pay-as-you-go pricing, and I just wanted to actually build out my software because I can put a loop in the middle of my workflow. I don't have to conform to Zapier's stupid UI. All right, so what I did was I set up this server. And basically all it is, it's very simple now that I understand it. It was pretty hard at the time, but basically all it's doing is it has a couple different webhooks, and I'm just gonna pull up my invoice for this. So here's one of my recent invoices, and we can see this number over here, auto scale requests, all right? So this is the amount of times that my server was invoked or started, all right? And this would count as like a run in N8N, or like a start and action probably in Zapier or Make. And actually Make and Zapier charge based on the operations, so the amount of times that something like runs, or the amount of actions something runs. So that's basically like kind of a different pricing scenario. But if we just pretend that Zapier, if you were just running one task per run, to run 64,000, all right, look how crazy this is. 64,000 requests, 50,000, let's just say 50,000 tasks. We're at $400 a month. And let's just look over at this invoice. That cost me 3 cents. And then of course the actual compute that it costed was $30. So this is the amount of time that it ran, all right? So the amount of like milliseconds that it ran for, all right? So this is an insane price difference, all right? Even if we go to Make, Make would be $60 a month, and that's just like, that's literally for like that amount of operations. But the other thing with Make that we'll see is even if you have this plan and you're like willing to pay that amount more, you still don't get as much memory, you still don't get as much features because you can extend code so much more, all right? But it does take a lot longer to build things with code. So that brings us on to what the perfect option would actually look like, all right? So first of all, we need pay-as-you-go pricing, all right? We just need it, all right? And I'm gonna make a bold claim here that is not actually that bold. Within the next 5 years, the majority of these services like Make and Zapier, they're gonna have a free tier, and then they're gonna have a pay-as-you-go tier. And then you can get both discounts if you upgrade, but that pay-as-you-go tier is crucial for getting people in the door, like me, who aren't necessarily sure how many tasks they're gonna wanna run and how many features they're gonna want, all right? So, the other thing that we want to make sure is we're not sacrificing any ease of setting up your tasks, okay? Because no code is actually insanely nice, all right? I've written, code before. I've written code a decent amount in the last few months, and it's fun for about a day. But then when one tiny feature takes you 4 hours, you realize that you should really be doing something else, all right? So that brings us over to N8N. I'm just going to show you this is all it takes to run a webhook. I'm literally put in the URL and hit test, all right, and it works. But if we go over to something like this, yeah, so if we just come back to this server, we can see, this is receiving an event, and then this is a post. And this is literally using an Axios library, so it's a little bit easier. But look at all this code just to do a basic function, all right? It's just way more intensive, and you have to worry about you can't see everything, so you have to kind of maneuver around. Anyways, if you've written code, you kind of understand that it's a little bit harder than doing no code. But now the final part of actually having the perfect option is that you can extend your workflow for as much functionality as you want, okay? So there's something kind of interesting going on where people are creating APIs to interact with AI or do things. So I just wanna show one example, Dumpling AI. So they have some pretty cool features here. You can scrape a web page, you can get a YouTube transcript, you can convert a document to text. So there's all these kind of cool things that you can do, but if we go to their pricing section again, it's not pay as you go. It's a flat fee. So you're gonna have Zapier, and then you're gonna have this on top of that. And so you're gonna be paying $100 a month just for one basic workflow, because you need to bring in these third-party APIs, because there's literally no other option, all right? So here is the perfect scenario, and you already saw it, it's N8N.io. And the interesting thing about N8N is they have this pricing structure, but this is for when they host it, because basically, like we said earlier, you're just paying for the UI, and in this case, you're not, okay? They're charging you for the compute and the easiness of kind of setting up the server, but I set up my own instance of this in just a couple of hours. It was very easy, and now it costs me $6 a month instead of 24, and I can run more than 2,500 executions, okay? That's the amazing part. So I'm gonna go over to my DigitalOcean account, and I think it's gonna give me 2FA because security. Let's go. All right, so if we go over to this is my N8N instance, and we can see that for the past 1 hour, let's just go past 7 days. It's gotten up there a little bit, but it's barely using any of the compute. Look, this peak is 20% of the CPU. This computer is literally using nothing, and because it's your server, you can just run this bad boy up to 100% for 24 hours every single day, and you're still paying $6 a month. So you can run as many workflows as you want. And the beautiful thing is that most automations are asynchronous, right? So you call someone and you want them to be saved to your CRM. It's not like you need it instantly. It's gonna come over, and you can just have the tasks go one after the other. You don't have to have it be instantaneous. So that's one of the really strong points of N8N. And I know it's not exactly pay as you go, but it's $6 a month, all right? That's a coffee or a bag of chips. So it's honestly a bargain. I can just leave this and forget about it, and I'll be happy. And then the other cool thing about self-hosting your own instance of these no-code builders is you can basically do whatever you want. So you can use your own custom packages in the code block. And I'm just gonna show you that. So it's kind of a funny story here, but code with N8N is very native to the platform, all right? So also if we go to AWS, they have a lot of AWS services, which is pretty, AWS is kind of It's like, okay, I'm just trying to get some ideas for my analogy, but basically, AWS is basically just used by like engineers and really technical people or enterprises, but they have AWS nodes, which shows that they're kind of more technical, all right? You can do a lot of different looping functions, but I just want to show you this really quick. So the code function, you can bring in your own packages or modules. So modules are basically a way to bring in other people's code to your project so you don't have to like write something. So there's this really cool one called YTDL, and then we're gonna write require, and we'll put YTDL core, because this one allows you to download YouTube videos like through code, okay? And I mean, that's just amazing. Like that means you can take YouTube videos and repurpose them auto-magically. So if we just hit test step, it's gonna work because they imported that package, and I have a guide on NAN's community on how to do that. But yeah, I mean, this is a huge game changer, because if you use a system like Zapier or Make, you're not gonna be able to do that. You're gonna be stuck with whatever they have. And last thing on Make, I just wanna say is, I mean, look at this. Look at this. Notice anything? Notice anything? It's got dark mode. What platform has dark mode? I mean, like barely anyone is willing to put in the effort to actually build out a dark mode, and NAN has it. I mean, it's just so much better for working at night. It just matches everything. I mean, this is the greatest feature in its own. But now we get on to basically the last part of this video, which is that you can't do everything with NAN or any node code platform that you're gonna use, all right? That's just kind of the sad reality of how things are, because I mean, they're just not built to do everything. And the problem here is, I was talking all that stuff about YTDL, but if you actually try to use YTDL to download a YouTube video, it just doesn't work. I'm not exactly sure why there's no documentation on it, because it's kind of a niche use case, but essentially it's just like a weird environment for it to be running, so it probably doesn't work because of that. So what you can do instead is you can set up your own Google Cloud account. Now I'm on the free plan for Google Cloud, and the cool thing is Google Cloud is just like AWS and Azure, Microsoft Azure, it's like usage-based pricing, and their free plan is also, you know, it's meant for like people running real businesses. So their free plan is going to cover you to like 100 or 1,000 monthly active users. Like you're fine, you're not worried, you know, so you can literally run as much as you want, and you might pay like $5 a month, okay? So I have a function in here, YTDL, and basically all I'm doing is invoking that function through a webhook. And the other great thing about having like this kind of system where you're running different functions on Google Cloud, by the way, you can use Python or JavaScript or Node, so you can actually like run, you know, basically whatever you want, is you can use your own like IDE. So this is Zed. I mean, Zed is the greatest editor known to man. And yeah, I mean, also, shit, my keyboard shortcut doesn't work for this, but you can bring up Claude and actually bring in, I mean, look how awesome this is. Help me with this code. I actually don't know why this is highlighted in blue, so maybe I could ask that about that. But you just hit active and it brings in this exact file. Look at that. Look how easy that is. I mean, I guess you could probably copy and paste it, but it's just so good, and Claude blows ChatGPT out of the absolute water. So, yeah. So in summary, essentially, here's what your setup is going to be ideally. Firstly, you just self-host your own instance of NAN on DigitalOcean or Google Cloud. I started using DigitalOcean first before Google Cloud, so I would have gone on Google Cloud because it's the same plan. But essentially you just do NAN self-hosting, and they have a guide. I mean, it's relatively straightforward. I could probably make a video, but there's plenty of documentation on how to do it. It really isn't that hard. And then you're also going to import basic packages. This is also pretty straightforward. So you can just import whatever packages you need to use. And then finally, you just outsource whatever you need to do besides that to Google Cloud Functions, which is gonna be extremely cheap. So overall, you're probably in for under $10 a month and you can run as many functions as you want with as much functionality as you want. And I mean, what's not to love? Oh, and the UX is insanely good because you have NaN and you also have your own code editor. I mean, this is just, it's just the bee's knees, and that's why I had to make a video about it. So anyways, like and subscribe and follow for more vlogs.